You thought you had a good marriage. Not perfect, but solid. You worked hard, you provided, you showed up, you were committed. And then one day, she said the words, "I want a divorce." And in that moment, your life as you knew it ended. Not because you chose it, not because you saw it coming, but because she decided, and in the modern marriage contract, her decision is the only one that matters. In this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly what happens when your wife files for divorce. Not the sanitized version, not the version where everyone's mature and amicable and it all works out fair. The real version. The one that plays out in family courts across America every single day. The mental destruction, the financial devastation, the custody nightmare, and the aftermath that nobody warns you about. This is the divorce playbook. And if you're married or thinking about getting married, you need to know what you're actually signing up for. Alpha Lens mindset here. Let's break this down. So what is divorce really? It's not a mutual decision to part ways. It's not a respectful ending to a relationship that ran its course. Divorce, in the modern system, is a unilateral decision that one person makes and the other person suffers through. And statistically, 70% of the time, that person making the decision is your wife. She can wake up one day, decide she's not happy, file the papers, and your entire life gets put through a legal meat grinder whether you want it to or not. Here's what they don't tell you before you sign that marriage license. You're not just committing to her, you're committing to a legal system that will side with her when things go wrong. You're committing to a contract where she holds all the power to end it, and you hold all the liability when she does. You're betting your financial future, your relationship with your kids, and your mental health on the hope that she'll never exercise that power. And when she does, you're about to find out just how bad the consequences are. Let's start with the blind side. Most men don't see divorce coming. You think everything's fine. Maybe things have been a little distant lately. Maybe she's been moody. Maybe sex has declined. But you chalk it up to stress, to kids, to life. You think it's temporary. What you don't realize is that she's been mentally checked out for months, maybe years. She's been planning this. She's talked to a lawyer already. She's lined up her finances. She's prepared her exit strategy. And you're living in the marriage thinking you're working through a rough patch while she's already got one foot out the door. The day she tells you, it feels like the ground disappears beneath you. "I want a divorce." 5 words, and your brain can't process them. You ask why. You ask what happened. You ask if there's someone else. And she gives you nothing. Vague answers. "I'm not happy anymore. We've grown apart. I need to find myself." None of it makes sense because you're trying to apply logic to an emotional decision that she made without you, and that confusion, that desperate need to understand, is going to haunt you for months. You think you can fix it, you offer counseling, you promise to change, you ask what you can do differently, and she says no to all of it. Because this isn't about fixing anything, she's already made her decision. The conversation you're having is just a formality. She's not asking for your input. She's informing you of what's already in motion. And that powerlessness, that realization that you have zero control over what's about to happen to your life, that's the first psychological hit. Now comes the immediate aftermath, the separation. Maybe you move out, maybe she does. But suddenly you're living apart from your family, from your kids, from the life you built. And the mental turmoil of that first week, that first month, is indescribable. You wake up every morning and for about 3 seconds everything's normal. Then reality crashes in. She's gone. The marriage is over. Your family is broken. And you have to face another day of existing in that reality. The anxiety is constant. You can't focus at work. You can't sleep. You can't eat or you can't stop eating. Your body is in fight or flight mode 24/7 because you're processing a trauma. And it is trauma. The sudden, unexpected destruction of your life is traumatic. But nobody calls it that. They call it divorce, like it's a neutral administrative process. But for you, it's a psychological bomb that just detonated in your chest. You start questioning everything. What did you do wrong? Were you not attentive enough? Did you work too much? Were you not romantic enough? You replay every argument, every moment of distance, every time she seemed unhappy, and you torture yourself trying to find the exact moment you failed, and you will find things, because nobody's perfect. But here's the truth. It doesn't matter. She didn't leave because of those things. She left because she wanted to, and no amount of self-blame will change that. The loneliness hits different than anything you've experienced. You're not just alone. You're alone after being partnered. You're alone in an apartment that's not a home. You're alone with your thoughts, your regrets, your fears about the future. And society tells you to man up, to move on, to get back out there. But you can't. Because you're barely surviving each day, and everyone expects you to just be fine. Now let's talk about what's happening legally while you're falling apart mentally. You hire a lawyer because you have to, and the first thing they tell you is that this is going to be expensive. Retainer fees, hourly rates, court costs, every email, every phone call, every document costs money, and you're bleeding cash just to legally end something you didn't want to end in the first place. Your lawyer tells you to prepare for asset division. In most states, it's 50-50. Doesn't matter who earned what. Doesn't matter who saved what. Doesn't matter who sacrificed what. Half of everything you built is now hers. The house you bought before you even met her. If you lived in it together, she's got a claim. The retirement account you've been funding for 20 years. Split it. The savings you accumulated. Gone. Your business that you built from scratch. She's entitled to a portion of its value. You're watching your life's work get divided up like a pizza, and there's nothing you can do about it. Because the law says marriage is a partnership, and partnerships split assets 50-50. Even when one partner did 90% of the building. Then comes alimony, spousal support, maintenance. Whatever they call it in your state, it's the same thing. You're going to pay her monthly to maintain the lifestyle she became accustomed to during your marriage. Doesn't matter if she's capable of working. Doesn't matter if she cheated. Doesn't matter if she's the one who wanted the divorce. You're paying. Because the court determined that she sacrificed her career to support the marriage, and now you owe her for that sacrifice. Even if that sacrifice was her choice, even if you supported her working, even if she just didn't want to work. The amount you pay is based on your income. The more you make, the more you owe. And it can last for years, sometimes decades. In some states, it's permanent until she remarries. So you're now funding your ex-wife's life indefinitely while you're trying to rebuild your own. That's not partnership. That's indentured servitude with a legal stamp of approval. But wait, it gets worse. Let's talk about the kids. If you have children, family court is about to become your nightmare. You want 50-50 custody? Good luck. Statistically, mothers get primary custody in the vast majority of cases. You're going to become what they call the non-custodial parent. That's legal speak for you're a visitor in your own kids' lives now. You'll get every other weekend, maybe Wednesday dinners, maybe alternating holidays. If you're lucky, the kids live with her. She makes the day-to-day decisions. She controls their schedule, their activities, their lives. And you get the leftovers. You get 4 days a month if you're lucky. That's 48 days a year out of 365. You're a part-time dad to your full-time kids. And that reality is soul-crushing. Every Sunday night, you drive them back to her house, your old house, and you watch them run inside and disappear into a life you're not part of anymore. And you sit in your car and feel like a ghost, like you're watching your own life from the outside. Like you died, but nobody told you. The custody arrangement isn't just about time, it's about influence. She's raising them full time, she's shaping their worldview, their habits, their opinions about you, and you get 2 weekends a month to try to maintain a relationship with kids who are growing up without you. You miss homework, you miss bedtime routines, you miss the small moments that make up childhood, and you can't get those back. Time is moving forward and you're not there for it. And here's the financial kicker, child support. On top of alimony, you're now paying child support. And the amount is calculated based on your income and the custody split. Since she has primary custody, you're paying her monthly to support the kids who you barely get to see. And that money goes directly to her with zero accountability. She can spend it on anything. New clothes for herself, dinners out, vacations, and you have no say in it, because it's for the kids, but there's no mechanism to ensure it's actually spent on them. Let's do the math. You're paying alimony, you're paying child support, you lost half your assets in the division, you paid tens of thousands in legal fees, and now you're living in a smaller apartment trying to rebuild your life while funding hers. You're financially devastated. Everything you worked for, gone. And you're starting over from scratch in your late 30s, 40s, or 50s, trying to build back what took you decades to create. The financial stress compounds the mental stress. You're not just emotionally broken, you're financially trapped. You can't save, you can barely afford rent. You're living paycheck to paycheck despite having a decent job because most of your income is going to her. And that stress manifests physically. Weight gain or loss, insomnia, high blood pressure, chronic anxiety. Your body is breaking down under the weight of what the divorce is doing to you. Let's talk about what happens to your identity. You were a husband. You were a father who saw his kids every day. You were a provider for your family. You were part of something. And now? You're none of those things. You're a divorced guy living alone. You're a weekend dad. You're a man who failed at the one thing society told you was most important, keeping your family together. That loss of identity is devastating. You don't know who you are anymore. Everything you defined yourself by is gone. And you're supposed to just figure out a new identity while you're drowning in grief, financial stress, and existential crisis. It's too much, and most men don't have the tools to process it. So they don't. They just shut down. They go numb. They become shells of who they used to be. Some men turn to alcohol. Some turn to work, burying themselves in 80-hour weeks because at least at work they feel competent. Some turn to new relationships, desperate to fill the void with someone, anyone who makes them feel wanted again. But none of it works, because you can't outrun grief. You can't drink it away. You can't work it away. You can't fuck it away. You have to go through it, and going through it is hell. Now let's talk about what life looks like 1 to 2 years post-divorce. You've survived the immediate aftermath. The legal process is done, the financial arrangements are set, you've got your custody schedule, and this is your new normal. And it's nothing like the life you had before. You're in a smaller place, you're financially strained, you see your kids part-time, and you're trying to date again, but it feels hollow because you're still carrying all this baggage. The women you meet post-divorce can smell the damage. You're guarded, you're cynical, you're not the man you were before, and that affects everything. You don't trust easily. You don't open up. You analyze everything they do, looking for red flags, because you missed the red flags last time, and you paid for it with your entire life. So now you're hypervigilant, and that's not attractive, but you can't turn it off. Your relationship with your kids has changed. They're different now. They've adjusted to the new normal, and sometimes you feel like a guest in their lives rather than a parent. They talk about things happening at mom's house that you're not part of. They have routines with her that don't include you, and you realize you're on the outside of their lives looking in, and it breaks something in you that can't be fixed. But here's the part nobody talks about. You survive. It doesn't feel like surviving. It feels like existing, but you wake up every day. You go to work. You pay your bills. You show up for your kids when it's your time. You keep going, and that's survival. It's not pretty. It's not inspiring, but it's real. And slowly, painfully, you start to rebuild. Not because you want to, not because you're healed, but because you have to. Because staying in the pit forever isn't an option. Your kids need you functional. Your career needs you present. You need yourself back, or at least some version of yourself that can navigate this new reality. So what should you have done differently? What can you do if you're facing this now? What can you learn if you're trying to avoid this fate? Let me give you the protection protocol. If you're not married yet, vet like your life depends on it, because it does. Years, not months. Prenup, non-negotiable. Watch her behavior during stress, conflict, and boredom. Check her relationship history. Look at her parents' marriage. Look at her friends' relationships. You're not just marrying her, you're marrying the pattern, and patterns don't lie. If you're married and things are good, don't get complacent. Maintain your purpose outside the marriage. Keep your masculine edge. Don't let her become your entire world. Have your finances organized so you know exactly what's yours and what's shared. Not because you're planning divorce, but because knowledge is power, if it ever comes to that. If you're married and seeing red flags, address them now, not later. Now. If she's distant, if intimacy is gone, if she's checked out emotionally, don't ignore it hoping it'll pass. Have the hard conversation. Suggest counseling. But also quietly, start protecting yourself. Talk to a lawyer just to understand your rights. Start separating finances if possible. Document everything. Not because you want divorce, but because if she's already planning hers, you need to not be blindsided. If you're in the middle of divorce, get the best lawyer you can afford. Document everything. Every conversation, every expense, every interaction with the kids. Protect your mental health, therapy, support groups, whatever it takes. Don't let the bitterness consume you. Don't use the kids as weapons. Don't try to win the divorce. Just get through it with your sanity and your financial future as intact as possible. And if you're post-divorce, rebuild strategically. Focus on your kids during your time with them. Focus on your career. Focus on your health. Don't rush into another relationship. Learn the lessons. Understand the patterns. Figure out what you missed, what you ignored, what you accepted that you shouldn't have. Because if you don't learn from this, you'll repeat it. Look, divorce is one of the most devastating things a man can go through. It's financial destruction, psychological trauma, and the loss of your children's daily presence all rolled into one. And the modern legal system makes it worse by incentivizing women to leave and punishing men for getting left. That's not opinion. That's how the system is designed. But you can survive it. Thousands of men are surviving it right now. You're not alone in this pain. You're not weak for struggling. You're not a failure for having your marriage end. You're just a man dealing with a system that was designed to work against you. And the best thing you can do is understand that system, protect yourself within it, and rebuild your life despite it. You thought marriage was a partnership. It's not. It's a contract where one party has all the exit power and the other has all the financial liability. That's the reality. And if you're going to sign that contract, do it with your eyes open. Because when it ends, and statistically there's a 40 to 50% chance it will, you're going to wish you had understood what you were actually agreeing to. If this video is showing you the reality you're living or the reality you're trying to avoid, drop "I see it now" in the comments below. And if you need one-on-one coaching to navigate divorce, protect yourself, or rebuild after the devastation, I offer private sessions. The link is pinned in the comments and the description. Alpha Lens Mindset here. Thank you for watching. Stay sharp.